Hi there. Please note that the training I'm about to present, Breaking Up, is best suited for those who are currently in a bad or unhealthy relationship, a relationship they don't necessarily want to be in, but feel stuck in and are wishing for a way out. Mindfulness is a running theme in this Breaking Up training. Mindfulness to heighten your self-awareness and ignite your creativity and power to transform the quality of all of your relationships. And it's empowerment through awareness, understanding, and action. And it's also about empowerment, feeling that empowerment, seeing that empowerment that comes with breaking up. Breaking up also will give you a lot to be mindful about. And we're going to clarify for you what your purpose is in breaking up, what your objectives are, your destination point, and what it's going to take to get there. Breaking up is intended to serve as an instructional guide for getting out of unhealthy relationships and into healthy, emotionally nourishing ones. Some years ago, I created the relationship model of addiction, and with the idea of creating a new paradigm for understanding addiction and recovery that highlights the emotional and psychological aspects of addiction, as well the experiential and relationship aspects of addiction. And it also delineates 3 stages of recovery. The first of which, stage 1, is breaking up. And then the second is discovery of self. And the third is creating emotionally nourishing relationships. The relationship model of addiction views addiction as a relationship, not a disease, as most of us have been taught. The relationship model defines addiction as a relationship with a means of relief of pain from unconscious, unmet emotional needs. So let's be clear. We are lumping together all relationships with means of relief, which include substances like alcohol or cocaine or heroin or meth, activities like sex or porn or gambling, and relationships with other people that are unhealthy, that could be codependent or dysfunctional in any number of other ways. But we're lumping all of them into the category of addictive, dependency, or need-based relationships, and therefore consider them to be inherently unhealthy. You might be wondering at this point, what is it that makes unhealthy relationships unhealthy and healthy relationships healthy? You need to know that. So generally speaking, unhealthy relationships are unconsciously driven by the need to relieve pain from unconscious, unmet emotional needs. They might make someone who's in a lot of pain feel better during the time that they're in the relationship. No real nourishment is ever provided. Also, these unhealthy relationships, most of them do not, there's no relationship with self. There's no one self-aware, no one in touch, no one home. Therefore, I consider these relationships to be, I refer to them as other-centered relationships. That means that there's more energy and attention directed onto the other or the means than internally directed towards oneself. And also, generally speaking, these relationships are notorious for being all-consuming. They become your primary relationships, the most important relationship, while rendering all of your other relationships secondary and all other priorities diminish in importance. We also see a diminishment of functioning in all areas of life and mounting problems for as long as you're in this relationship. Now we're ready to go into the 5 steps for breaking up, the 5 steps that you take to break up. The first step is recognition. What is recognition? Recognition is just seeing the relationship for what it is, a bad relationship, and what is it that makes it bad. As you begin to understand all the ways that this relationship is working against you, it's going to be much more likely that you're going to be motivated to break up. So getting into what this process, this step of recognition entails, you're going to be learning now a lot about the dynamics of what goes into this relationship that's really working against you. First off, you realize and you feel and it's clear to you that the reason why you're in this relationship is that you're in a lot of pain. And the relationship serves as a means of relief. You feel better while you're in this relationship, but it's driven by your need to relieve pain. You also realize that and see how the relationship works, that not only are you not deriving any nourishment, real nourishment from this relationship, denial works to distort your perceptions of the relationship, so you end up making a lot more of the relationship than it is. And so you don't feel a bit worse because you're not getting nourishment. You're actually thinking that you're getting a lot more than you actually are. And the way this works is that most people who are in these relationships uphold some kind of illusion that legitimizes and justifies the relationship. You also learn that objectification is occurring. What is objectification? Objectification is simply what it sounds like. You're relating to the other or the means as an object that you have sought and relied on for relief, which really limits your discriminating capacity. So, like when you're starved emotionally, you'll eat anything. You'll eat anything, garbage if need be, while remaining completely oblivious to the nutritional value of what you're sinking your teeth into. And along the same lines, as I said before, you get to see and feel that this relationship is driven by desperation. It's desperation. You've got to get out of pain. And that you also learn that desperation really gets in the way of making connections and making good connections in healthy relationships. It gets in the way because wherever a desperation is looming, it's like you're gasping for air. And whenever you're gasping for air, you're not going to have the emotional and energetic presence necessary to make those connections. They're not going to happen. Another thing you realize and get to see about this relationship is the extent to which your life revolves around this relationship, and that you've been becoming increasingly more removed and isolated from your life and all relationships. And perhaps most importantly in this step of recognition, you identify and learn about your denial and identify its manifestations and the ways that it distorts your perceptions without you being aware of it. So what it does to you, and you realize this, is that it impairs your judgment and makes it pretty much impossible for you to assess the level of your involvement, the progressive impact, and intangible effects of being in this relationship. That is step one of the process of breaking up, recognition, which leads into the second step in the process of breaking up, and that is consciously connecting your pain with the relationship that you got involved with that serves to relieve that pain. The relationship model of addiction is based on the premise that the need for love and the need to relieve pain are basic human needs. We need love. However, if our need for love does not get met, there's going to be pain. And the stronger the pain, the more pain there is, the stronger the need to relieve that pain will be. Understanding this basic premise leads to this next step in the process here, and that is, again, consciously connecting the pain that you were in when the relationship was forming with the relationship that relieves the pain. So you have to go back to the relationship's beginning to make that connection. What was going on emotionally at the time this relationship was taking hold? Shining a light on what was previously unconscious is often nothing short of revelatory. When you consciously register the connection between the pain that you were in at the time, then the relationship was forming, and this relationship that serves as a means of relief, you'll begin to understand in a way you never did before how and why you got involved in this relationship and why you're holding on to it for dear life. It's when your pain is buried in your unconscious that it has the most power. Making it conscious has a disarming effect. When you remove your blinders, you're able to acknowledge its presence. The pain is there. You're able to see it. You're conscious of it. You're feeling it. And when you're at this point where the light is shining on it and you become conscious of it, you are more inclined to allow it to be there because you're seeing it there, and you'll no longer spend so much energy denying and relieving it. And you won't, and in the process, you won't feel as bad for having those feelings as you were when they were unconscious. Because in this process of making this connection, you get to appreciate all the struggles and pain and turmoil you've been through in your life, and you begin to have some compassion for yourself just for all that you've been through. So it's a whole different take on yourself that you're getting. And most importantly and most powerfully, what often happens at this point is that you get this powerful contrast between where you were when the relationship was forming in the past, at that time in your life. That was then, and that was the you then. But now, when you shift over to the present time, and you're looking at the pain that you're in now, this is you in the present time. This is the present time, and this is the you present time. Again, love is what we're ultimately after. However, the need to relieve pain trumps the need for love when the level of pain warrants such. The third and next step in the process of breaking up is goodbye. Goodbye is your last hurrah, your curtain call. When you say goodbye to the other or the means of relief, whether you're saying it to yourself and it's in your head or you're saying it to the other person, goodbye, a shift occurs. The way you hold the relationship changes. Saying goodbye creates separation and space that allows you to look at the relationship from a different vantage point when you don't have so much writing on it. It's like being released from prison and you're tasting freedom for the first time. At first, it's really wildly dramatic and wow, with freedom, you're tasting freedom for the first time. But over time, the novelty eventually wears off as you settle into your new life and you kind of get used to the freedom and it becomes second nature. Saying goodbye is the same kind of process as that. Implied in goodbye is action and communication. So whether the physical action could be either pulling back, or these actions and these communications are expressions of having made a decision that you're heading out of this relationship. You're walking away and letting go of it and moving on, but you're doing so proactively. You're walking the walk at this point. I'd like you to consider a journal type exercise to accelerate the process of breaking up, and that is a goodbye letter. A goodbye letter to the person that or the means of relief that you're breaking up with, that includes your rationale, your challenges that you're going to be facing, and the rewards that you hope to see. What do you no longer want while you are identifying what you're ultimately after? Which is why you're breaking up. It's a perfect letter. It's a perfect process for you to kind of move this along. Okay, now we're heading into the fourth and next step in the process of breaking up, and that follows goodbye, and it's emotional withdrawal. In any addictive, dependency, or need-based relationship you're in, any action step that you take towards breaking up, there's going to be an emotional fallout. There's going to be some emotional fallout. There are no free rides. It's just not possible to break up a relationship of this magnitude without there being at least a modicum of pain. We call that emotional withdrawal. The severity of emotional withdrawal depends on how long you've been in a relationship and how involved you are in this relationship. So the more involved you are in the relationship and the longer you've been in this relationship, generally the more severe and painful and uncomfortable the withdrawal is going to be. Weaning your way out of a dependency, need-based relationship is often devastatingly difficult. There is a huge chasm that has to be crossed. At some point in the process, it's going to dawn on you that you are completely alone, without anything to fall back on, in the face of an overwhelming reality and torrents of emotion. You might be calling out for an infusion of courage and guidance from above, but those calls are not going to get answered. Conscious aloneness is a major adjustment for anyone. Coming to terms with the existential reality of our aloneness is really a bitter pill to swallow. It's very hard and difficult to deal with, but it's even more difficult when you're breaking up, because doubts of being able to stand on your own 2 feet and cope come bubbling up. And a lot of times, the only thing that gets you through, a lot of people, the only thing that gets them through is blind faith. Blind faith that you're going to somehow be okay, or just trusting the process that you're going to end up landing on your feet. Call it a spiritual confidence, some kind of spiritual confidence that will eventually get rewarded big time. But at the time when you're in this situation, you don't know that. And you don't know how close you are to making the hugest discovery of your life, yourself. Now we're heading into the fifth step in the process of breaking up, and that is discovery of yourself. Breaking up marks the end of the unhealthy relationship with the means of relief, the addictive, dependency, need-based relationship, and the beginning of a new relationship with yourself, the most important relationship of all. In yourself, you discover a treasure trove of rich and abundant resources you had never utilized before because you didn't know they were there. And as you develop this relationship with yourself, you awaken and become more conscious and connected to what really matters most in your life. And what is that? Love, intimacy, and making deeper connections. No longer will you be driven by the need for relief. It's a natural progression. You have to break up before you can discover yourself and begin developing a relationship with yourself. The conception of a relationship requires that the connectors have to be vital and healthy. Remember, healthy relationship consists of two separate, autonomous, healthy, and alive selves. It's similar to the conception that occurs in the womb, where it's absolutely required. You absolutely have to have a healthy sperm with a healthy egg in order for the conception to occur in the womb. However, with conception of a relationship, the genders don't matter when the conception occurs, but the connectors have to be sufficiently vital and healthy. It's only when you're in touch with your feelings and your experience and you're self-aware, as you are when you have a relationship with yourself, that you can get your need to love and be loved met. Breaking up is intended to serve as a roadmap that takes you through all the necessary stopping points on this transitional journey you're on out of unhealthy relationships and into healthy, emotionally nourishing ones. Now, breaking up is going to prepare you and for all the challenges you're going to face along the way. However, it's going to be up to you to make sure you're in the requisite condition before embarking on this journey. Being in the requisite position, what I'm talking about is really understanding these basic steps in the process of breaking up, but also tapping into the motivation, the necessary motivation that comes with a conscious awareness and connection to your need for love and intimacy and connection. When you have that motivation, you're good to go. And also, you need to be trusting and committing to the process by steady, active pursuit. Don't stop and keep going until you get there. Basically, you're going to get there. Anyone can do this. It just takes time, focus, and effort. And remember to journal, keep your therapy journal so you can document your travels. That's a key part of the process. So with love, from me to you on your journey of growth and healthy relationships. See you next time.